Okay, let's see if I can just do this in one take. Got my notes, so hopefully I can do this. Ahoy! Now already fucked up. Well, welcome back to the North. It's nwtkid Games and such, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid. Not the second one, just the first one, but this was the only one I had near me. Let's talk about Metal Gear Solid. First released in '98 in September, and it was a very revolutionary game. I wasn't playing it back then. I was like more into Pokemon and stuff. I was pretty young. I was only 7 when this game came out, so I turned 8 like in a month later, but it was one of those things where I didn't have a PlayStation. I had an N64, so I did not play Metal Gear Solid until Twin Snakes came out, which was quite a few years later on the GameCube, and even then I never owned that. I rented that game, and that was really, really fun, because I remember thinking that this is such an awesome game. I can't believe I never played it. And then after that, I started playing the second one. I beat that one. I played the third. I never beat the third, but then I beat every other Metal Gear Solid game they've ever released, other than Metal Gear Survival, which was released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox, I'm pretty sure, and I did not want to play that. I wrote down 6 notes, so I will talk about these notes here. Redefine the narrative in games. It was the first game really to have a really, really big narrative and story, and the gameplay was not the big focus of your time with this game. It was a lot of times the narrative and the story, and it was just like when you go into Metal Gear games, sometimes you go in for the gameplay, sometimes you just go back to revisit this game for the story. And this is definitely one of those games that started that off. It was cool because it was complex. What do I mean by that?
Snake, you've been talking to me, dear brother. Liquid, how the...
I did not know exactly what was happening in Metal Gear until years later, after they released all of the games. After MGS5 came out, I then understood the story a little bit more, but it was not until I started watching YouTube deep dive story essays of video essays of it that I was just like, wow, this is a really big story. Like the third one starts off in like the 1960s, and then after that they kind of go back into future times of like 2015, and then later on Metal Gear Solid 5 takes place in the 1980s. So it is a very interesting story, and you don't get all the answers by playing one game. You have to play all of them, and Metal Gear Solid 1 is so fun to start with because it starts off the series really, and then it goes on, because it's the first one, and then it goes on for 5. It's such a great game, but to me the first game is like the third one, because the third one starts in the 1960s, and that's as far back as the timeline goes in Metal Gear Solid. So if you want to play them in order, in chronological order, number 3, and then Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear Solid 1, which I'm talking about, Metal Gear Solid 2, then the 4th one is the last one. So that would be the chronological order. If you want to do it just by the games, you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think Peace Walker and 4 come out at the same time, and then 5 is the last one you want to do. I wrote down also 4th wall break.
Put your controller on the floor.
The 4th wall breaks are really cool because in some ways they don't break immersion. When they say that like they're talking to like you played some Castlevania recently.
I see that you enjoy Nintendo games. You seem to like The Legend of Zelda, don't you?
And then if you want Psycho Mantis to not read your thoughts and stuff like that, you have to move the memory card out of slot 1 and then put it in slot 2, that is so clever. Like, that does not break immersion. It does break the fourth wall, but you are still really in depth in the game, and it is one of my favorite things that the game does. A lot of the best moments are on the codex.
Is there any cold medicine at this base?
What's wrong, Snake? You caught a cold?
It's a radio, but it's so big. It's such a big part of the story. I really like the codex stuff, even though, like, it's just one screen, the codex screen.
You knew it all along, didn't you? Why did you try to hide it? I'm sorry.
So much of the story happens there. You learn so much about Snake, what's happening in the story. Like, there's tidbits about which happens before the story, what will happen later. It's interesting, the codex stuff. I also wrote down elevator that has invisible guys after the codex with Otacon. That's kind of a spoiler, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining me here. I really been playing a lot of Metal Gear games lately. I've been revisiting Peace Walker as well as MetalGear Solid 5. I really like those two games. That has Big Boss in it, which is not the character in this game. Metal Gear has a lot of character. It has like 3 characters. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video tomorrow, which will be kind of like a vlog.